Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Blacktop Banter, episode 34, and I know it's episode 34 because I made a point to make sure I was on episode 33 last time. So here we are, we're back, and I'm peeling them out. Maybe it's just because we're into the slow season and downtime, but Christmas is right around the corner, and I do want to take a break over Christmas, so I'm going to log some of these up here, and I'm calling on some of my friends from all over the country to join me on the podcast, and it's working out really good. And my guest today, I think I asked way back when we first started, I was like, hey man, I gotta get you on the podcast. For me, I always enjoy sitting in Tom Eosso's classes at MPE. And last year, I don't know if you can tell, we both kind of have goatees, but Tom's is a little bit different color than mine. Oh, yeah. And I was listening to this guy tell me how I need to use iPads in the field. This year, because of that class, I implemented that at Wiscote, and we loved it. So it's really worked out well for us. Tom Eosso with Eosso Brothers Paving. Please introduce yourself, Tom.
My name is Tom Eosso with Eosso Brothers Paving, and we also have another company called Power Patch Infrared Specialist. My sister runs that, and we're very excited about that business also. This is my 28th, going on 29th year in business with Eosso Brothers. My company is basically me, myself, my two brothers. My sister runs the office, and we have about 50 employees. So we run about 9 crews, from complete full service company, from paving to milling to seal coating. We do our own striping, concrete, catch basin repair. So we're full service. We really enjoy what we do. If you see my sign, do the shit you love.
Yes, that's why we're on the podcast probably right now.
That's right. And then on the top, the positivity. I look at that every day, and I'm into it. So about 12 years ago, Alan Haydorn, I sat in an infrared class, and I came out a little disappointed in the class. So I searched Alan down. I knew he ran the show. And I said, Alan, I want to do the class. I want to do the infrared class next year.
Yep. So
he said, Tom, if you want to do it, we'd love to have you. Cool. So we started out, it was down in Atlanta, and I did the class. I was as nervous as you can get. First time in front of a lot of contractors, it gets a little tough.
Yeah.
So I did the class, and then at the end of the show, I looked at all the reviews, and they were very good. They were good. And Alan said, Tom, I want you to do it again.
Cool.
So then we did another one on the West Coast in Las Vegas. And it was something I prepared for every year. I tried to change things differently. I did about 8 or 9 infrared classes. And then a few years ago, Alan asked me to do a class on culture. And I had a lot of fun with that too. That was a great class. And so it's really, the NPE is really brought me and classes, it's really difficult to design a class for an hour and a half and keep people excited and get something. So the last year, Russ Turner took over the show, and he asked me to do a class called iPad. I actually did 2 classes, one on milling, milling operations, and one on the iPad class. Well, they both went very well, but my iPad class was full from front to back. The contractors now, the paper and pens are gone. We implemented iPads about 6 or 7 years ago, and we have about 12 of them through the company, and that is our communication, our pictures. We are so excited about the iPad and what it can do that I wanted to do this class, because I said if I could show it well, we can help other contractors throughout the United States. Yeah. And it went very well. And I was preparing for this year's show.
Yeah.
My class ready to go.
Yeah.
And
it was a good class. I loved it. I was looking forward to getting into it again, because I know I missed stuff through the first run, and I had to stand at the back because it was full. So I didn't mind. I didn't mind for the time that I was in there, but we did implement it this year. I did, especially. And one thing I liked about it is I took my little guy Eli with me sometimes on estimates, and like he could work the estimating and everything in there, and it all got locked into our notes and everything. And I usually try to double check. The kid's good at math, but when it comes to some of those bigger areas, you better be sure someone's putting the numbers in right. But I really enjoyed that, and I was looking forward to that as well. With MPE being canceled this year, I know that guys are looking forward to what can be offered through the virtual classes. Cameron Hogite and I were teaching a class on Facebook ads this year. I don't know that we're going to do it. I really need to have somebody in front of me to explain how to do that. Some stuff I know is going to transition easier than others, but either way, I'm still looking forward to it. And, we're gearing up for what'll be the next MPE. So when you were talking earlier about Alan Haydorn and him saying, "Oh, you want to do it? Sure, go ahead. Oh, you know what? We want you to do it next year." When I first came kind of with my thing being out of the box stuff, Alan really took me in right away and said, "Hey, you want this? You want to write an article about this? Fine. We'll put it in the magazine. You want to spotlight this? Fine. We'll put that in the magazine." And that's one thing that I think I'm going to miss. Russ is a great showrunner. Russ and I get along great. I felt like the transition was easy and smooth. But I am going to miss that little bit of Alan, being salt and pepper, but yet taking some risks on some of us as contractors getting in front of that guy.
Well, with Alan, we were really gearing up to, he's retiring this year. So we were gearing up to have a party for him out in Nashville. So we're going to figure a way to get together and thank him for everything he's done. So he's going to be missed. And as you said about Russ is awesome. I worked with Russ all last year on advisory board with him also, and he lives and dies by this show also. So it's we had a meeting yesterday about ways that we could still get out and do something to help these contractors, because I'm going to be lost in end of January, because for over 20 years I've been at this NPE, and it's a pep rally for me and my company.
Oh, yeah.
We go out, meet my brothers, and I usually bring 10 to 12 people, and we're gonna miss it. So we're talking about some virtual classes. Russ is gonna push some stuff out soon. We're getting some ideas where we can assist everybody throughout the year. So again, this is gonna be a tough year without being at the Nashville.
Yeah, that's another thing I was thinking about, was just kind of how, I love the classes. But by now I've been to almost all of them, unless they're newer and I haven't got to sit in them. But really the big thing for me has always just been us talking about getting ready for the season and knocking it out of the park. So I know we're gonna miss that, and that's gonna be an issue. But there it is. There it is. Whiskey.
There it is. I didn't believe it.
I love it.
This is you gave me this last year, the MPE shirt, and I have it with me all the time.
There's pieces like that. My asphalt contractor magazines here, some older hats from my guys, from my friends. You kind of miss that little bit of a thing. There it is. We got another one.
Is that written at Blacktop too? I should have had their stuff in here too, but gained a lot of friends.
We do. We make a lot of friends. That camaraderie's there. Your resources are built there. It feels good. It kind of feels crazy to say, but it feels like we're a large team, and you don't really need much, but if someone's there, they're a resource, and it just feels good to be going through this stage of business with other people that you can kind of talk to and bounce ideas off of and things. And I am going to miss that. But at the same time, we're in an age where we can communicate like this. We can talk, we can text, we can call, we can have video call. You and I were on a video call through Top Contractor School earlier this year, right? Exactly. So that was early. I think it was April maybe, because COVID had just hit, and that was the topic of the Zoom call, and we were both in there, and I could tell your face looked like my face, and we were scared as shit. Like, what is going to happen, and what's it going to be like?
Brian Hess has really helped me throughout the year too. He's got no matter how bad things are, he makes you happy when you're done talking to him. So he's got some great ideas and some cutting edge thought process. So he's helped me through a a crazy 2020 myself.
Yeah. What was it like at Eosso Brothers? What was it like the 2020? Because I know, we developed a game plan here at Wisco for how I was going to adjust, how we were going to adjust, what we were going to have to do with our contracts that we already had and ones where we didn't have shovels in the dirt yet. And, like, hey, we're going to get some shovels in the dirt to get the ball rolling so that we don't lose these things. What was kind of the adjustment there at Eosso Brothers, Tom?
That's good. Great idea. So every January, the first 2 weeks are really nobody wants work done the first 2 weeks. So what we do in the first 2 weeks of January, me and my brother sit down, my project managers and team sit down, and we pretty much reevaluate the year before. So 2019, we do a SWOT analysis. So we write down all our strengths, our weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and then we devise a plan. And we say our weaknesses we have to make better, and we have to look at our threats and say what's happening this year coming up, say 2021 or 2020. When I sat down in January, I didn't have COVID as a threat. Okay, this thing came from nowhere. All right, so January comes, we write down, we create our SWOT plan. Then we sort of let that sit because January is a dead month for our company. It's too cold to pave. Mm-hmm. So then we prepare to go to NPE. So we took about 10 people last year to NPE. We get out there. That's a pep rally for us. We go to the classes. Then we get out on that floor and we try to, see what we're going to do to buy. Going back this year, I'm in the process of building a brand new seal coating truck. So Neilco Equipment in Pennsylvania, Shippensburg, Pennsylvania, he was building this truck for me to be on the show floor. He is so bummed out that this truck isn't going to be on that floor, because when this thing is done, it's going to be amazing. So we may do a virtual class on building a seal coat truck. So get Neilco, get together. So going back to January, January, we set our goals. Me and my sales team, myself, my brother Anthony, and Ralph Mazzoni, we sit down and we look at what we did in the year before, and we start writing down our goals and our plans for our sales and how we're going to achieve it. We go to the trade show, we come back, we get all these crazy ideas, new equipment, new ideas from the classes, and we come back in the month of February. We go over our SWOT plan, try to take the weaknesses out, look at threats and say what can we do about it, and then look at buying new equipment or what we're going to do. Yep. So then we evaluate our company burdens. So every year, health insurance goes up, cost of doing business goes up, cost of labor goes up, fuel goes up. So we take our equipment and our labor, we call our insurance agents, we get our work comp ratios, and we adjust it, and we create that for we redevise our hourly plan for our manpower. Sure. Yep. Then we look at our equipment, we break each piece down, we see where the fuel is, and we create an hourly rate for that. So we really reevaluate every January and February, and then we create our plan and we go for it. So the SWOT goes a long way. We do a SWOT 2 times a year. We do our strengths and weaknesses, opportunities and threats, and we go through February. We have 3 months worth of work booked, ready, signed, everything's ready to go. So we're feeling comfortable here in January and February. Mm-hmm. We're getting our crew set up. We're talking to at this point, our employees, a lot of them are laid off for the January and February. We have our mechanics working through the winter. So then March comes. New Jersey usually we start picking up mid to the end of March. Mm-hmm. So we have an orientation for our crew to a kickoff orientation in March. So here we go. March comes up and they start talking about COVID.
Yep.
And how bad this is, and this is a pandemic, and March comes in, we're gearing up for orientation, everything's set up, we're getting jobs ready to go, and our governor shuts down New Jersey. It was so at that point we're saying we can't get 50 people, 60 people together in a class and talk about the year. You know, right now our guys are on unemployment, laid off. Let's contact every single one. We're going to cancel the orientation. Stay on unemployment. You're getting a paycheck. Keep that going. We're seeing what we're doing as a company, and we're going to find out. We don't want to pull you in, and then you can't get unemployment. So we were calling our guys up, trying to keep them positive. It was a crazy time, you know. So meanwhile, you know, going back to the MPE, years and years going there, I created some really strong friends with companies. Finley Paving in Virginia, great guys, big company. Black Diamond in California, Libs Paving in Kentucky, A&A out in Chicago, and Intercounty in New York. So when this hit, I contacted all these guys and said, guys, let's get on a Zoom. You know, is this just a New Jersey thing? Is it all over the place? So we're all talking the same story. What are we going to do? The world's falling down. We were talking with Brian Hess about it also. Yep. So, you know, at that point, we're looking at January and February, we're looking for the biggest goals we ever did in sales and all this work going on we're calling our customers and they're saying, postpone. No, we don't want you to start. We don't want you to start. So now we're looking at our finances ahead and we're saying, we're in a bad position right here. So we went on about 4 or 5 Zoom calls with Finley and all the other guys, Black Diamond. And let me tell you something, we teamed up, our minds got clear, and we were all scared, but we also had, you know, we weren't going to fold up. None of us, not one of those companies are going to lay down. We're figuring ways to get through this. So we're saying, you know, we're worried about our families. We're worrying about our employees' families. We're worrying about payments and what we're going to do. So we all discussed the PPE. Mm-hmm. So a couple of the guys got it right away. So they got their PPEs right away. We set it up and we finally got ours. Mm-hmm. And then all our equipment payments were like, oh, we were nervous, you know, you got to be careful when you know, so Caterpillar and all these companies, they gave us 3 months where we didn't have to make our payments. We got the PPE. So now, you know, what we did was we said, we can't pull back 60 people and say, you know, we have nowhere to go. We can't, there's no work. So we kept communicating with our employees. We kept communicating with our customers. We had major meetings going with masks on and 6 foot apart and all that stuff. But we were really talking about how are we going to get through this? And we hired a financial controller. He's like a CEO for our company. Sure. We grew big and it was getting a little hard for me to handle all the planning. So his name is Brian, and he really he helped me tremendously with my mindset. Yep. We sat down, we were devising a plan for what we're going to do with our manpower, what we're going to do with our equipment. He was talking to the banks, got everything under control, calming me down, saying we're going to be all right. Yep. Me and my brothers and my sister huddling up all the time. You know, we had our tail between our legs, running around. What are we going to do? Stay focused. Yeah. Stay positive. Yep. And get through this. So March goes through. April goes through. You know, nobody were calling our customers. Paving was considered essential. So we were lucky there. So we started contacting our customers and asking them, and they were like, cancel, postpone. We do a lot of condo developments and office complexes. So a lot of the condos, the people were home. So cars were in the parking lots and roads. So they were saying, cancel. We're not canceling. We're just moving it until we can get this going. Right. So we started saying, okay, office complexes. There's nobody working. What better time can you pave when there's office complexes are usually a nightmare because Monday through Saturday they're working. So we started creating a positive vibe to all our customers saying, hey, you know, now's the time. Let us do it. So we paved a bunch of office complexes. There was a retirement community that was all straight roads. Cars were in there, driveways and fingers. Nobody was out.
Yep.
So we started, so we jumped on, April and May. It was actually May. And we started paving and seal coating and talking to our customers and saying, while you're inside, we're going to be out. We're going to be safe. We're going to have our masks on.
Yep.
We're trying to keep our distances. We're not going to put your communities in jeopardy. But this is the best time to work. Nobody's out. The traffic wasn't out.
Yeah.
The asphalt plants are open. So what we started working. We started going strong. Our project managers, we have 8 project managers throughout our crews. So we started pulling them in, saying this is a different type of year.
Yep.
We have to work as lean as we ever worked before.
Yep.
We got no waste. We got to watch our overtime. We got to watch everything we do. We don't overorder blacktop. We have to make sure every dollar counts, because we're not going to have the money. This is going to be a year that my goal is just to get through 2020.
Yeah, we talked about that. I know we talked about that.
Yeah, and like I said, the team of with Finley and A&A and all those guys, we kept sort of helping each other with their mindsets, and they were telling us what we were doing. So we kept the ball rolling, and we knew we were never going to hit the goal we wanted. Mm-hmm. We just knew that the goal I had planned wasn't getting hit. This is a survival year.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, getting our PMs, we created an incentive program for these guys this year, and my financial guy Brian sat each guy down and said, we had job costing, and they said, if you hit these numbers, we're gonna bonus you. So these guys were progressing, making money, because they were bringing jobs in on time, under material, not cheating anyway, but they were being efficient,
streamlining, making it really efficient. Yeah.
So if anything out of this whole pandemic and all this negativity came, I learned to run a business this year.
Yeah.
28 years.
That's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say, is that it almost relit that thing at the beginning, because that you kind of get on cruise control a little bit and get in that routine, and it threw a little bit of a big wrench into the works, but also that that moment we had where we were nervous, when we all kind of on those calls, seeing each other, developing plans, what we need to do, getting all nervous. That once I realized that our field was essential and we could get out and work, it kind of felt like we were kickstarting all this stuff again to make things, some kind of normalcy come. And honestly, it kind of lit a little bit of a fire, like back in the day a little bit, because all the stuff we learned and that we knew, and these resources we had, now we were putting them to use. So going back to our iPad class, right? So yep. I learned more about the iPad in 2020 than I knew last year. So, half the year we're taking our iPads, walking around, doing Zoom meetings on our iPads on jobs. We're FaceTiming our customers, because nobody wanted to meet. Did millions of dollars worth of work and didn't meet half the customers. Right.
So everything was over the phone. We're reassuring them that we will handle the project. You will have no problems if we're out there. Any problems we handle. The managers weren't allowed to come to their sites. So the iPad became sort of our left arm. We were communicating through that, trying to keep distant. We usually have a lot of board meetings with these management companies. Didn't meet any of them. I sat at probably 20. My brother sat at 20 Zoom meetings. We were getting work off Zoom meetings. So that's the way to go from now on. I used to do board meetings late at night. Now we're doing meetings in the daytime. Everybody's on Zoom. Yeah.
I was just talking with my last guest on the podcast about that, how it's essentially, we're pretty rural where we are. So my customers didn't have a choice but to make things digital in some form or another. And it really helped to kind of push some people that were, against going into that digital age or whatever. It really kind of started pushing them that way. One thing I wanted to ask you about, and we've kind of talked about it already, is adapting. With your classes, the infrared class was new. When it got started, infrared was kind of new here a decade ago. And then with the iPad, that's kind of new. How important is that, Tom? Because you guys are a bigger company in my eyes than what we see around here, obviously. And for you guys to be in yourself to be on the cutting edge all the time with some young bucks. You know, we go walk around that floor sometimes and there's kids that can't grow a goatee teaching us what we need to do. And a lot of guys, you know, whatever. Imagine if that would have been you guys this year, if you would have had that mentality and not had the iPad, not had these resources, not knew what to do. How important is that? I mean, and how do guys do that? How do you adapt?
So, so me and my brothers from a young age, I'm fortunate to work with my family. We get along. We all, you know, we all played sports. We're all about teamwork. We're all about planning. My father owned an excavating business, and he taught us from a young age, never die. Don't give in. We will get through it. Mm-hmm. So, and then if you look back and you see this M1 tank,
yeah.
When I came out of high school, I went into the Army. So I was in the Army for 3 years. I drove the M1 tanks. Then I went into a heavy equipment operating combat engineer. So I learned, growing up, I was in the paving industry and the excavating. So I knew how to do this stuff at a young age. And then the Army taught me structure.
Sure.
So when I went into the Army, I learned laborers are like privates in the Army and your leaderships and that there's a chain of command. And so I built my company in an Army platform.
Sure.
Okay, like your crew leaders, I have crew leaders, I have project managers. And then, you know, once my company went over 25 employees, I used to do everything. I had so many hats on, I couldn't even take on.
Right.
I'd work from morning to night and until I couldn't breathe. So I started saying, you know, I have to depend on, you know, being on the jobs. I used to do the jobs. I had once I stepped back and started doing all the sales, then I had to pass the torch to these project managers, and they had to create a project that was, one, communication was at a high level. Two, image is everything. We have to look good on the jobs. Our equipment has to look good. And at the end of that job, it is perfect. It's cleaner than when we left it. And we have to give that customer a reason to call us back.
Right.
And, you know, so, you know, one of the things I'm very proud of is 28 years ago, I lived in a condo development, and I met a manager, and she got me started. Her name is Daisy Hooley, and she started me in the industry. I told her that I wanted to start my own business. She gave me my first job, and 28 years later, I still work with her. So, you know, it comes down to trust. These people have to trust you. If they don't trust you, they will not use you. Right. So your word, if you say something, you have to do it. And then three, you know, you have to have integrity. If, you know, there's times we hit a garage door ripping a driveway out. We're calling these people. I have a garage door company coming on the way fixing that door. We made a mistake. We're not perfect. But if the manager or the customer has to call me and say, hey, your guys broke the garage door, we didn't call them, you lose trust.
Really?
And my Daisy to this day still says, she told me when I first met her, she says, Tom, if I have to babysit you, I won't use you. If I can't depend on you, I won't use you. And if you make a mistake and don't fix it, you do those things and follow it, you'll win.
Yeah. And
I still, to this day, but trust means a lot, and it's really hard. Dedication, loyalty. People aren't loyal anymore like they used to be. Mm-hmm. You know, back in the day, you know, loyalty went, but now it's cheapest price, the fastest person who can get it to me. So business is changing.
Yep.
So that's where the iPads come in. Speed. We're measuring on our iPads. We use pavement software. Our iPads, we can do our estimates right on our iPads. We can email right from it. We're job costing. My project managers are taking our iPads job costing in the morning, so I see if we win or lose right there. So they're all doing their own job costing. Then our office double checks it when the invoices come in. So everything, our iPads, like I said, when I say left arm, we don't leave home without it. So, yeah, we use this thing. We have GPS in every vehicle. Mm-hmm. So my project managers are on a paving job. They open their iPad up, they click on, they know where the trucks are. We have geo fences over the asphalt plants, over the jobs. So when the truck drives into the asphalt plant, it pings and emails the project manager saying truck 25 just entered the site or entered the plant. It's there. The technology's there. Don't be afraid of it.
Yeah, that was kind of the, the big thing, as I was going to ask you is, how, the consensus that I see, technology is changing so fast, and it advances so fast that, to be, I guess, abrasive against it is counterproductive at some point. And it is intimidating. Don't get me wrong. It is intimidating because we're, you know, myself, I'm a little bit easier to it, but folks that are older than me, it's intimidating because we come from a time where it didn't change for a long time, and now it's changing very fast. So, for you guys and yourself to be so open-minded about technology and taking it and how to use it, I'm really thankful for that, because some of these companies that have been around 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, and they don't adapt, we're going to see them flounder. And for us to, as a younger crowd, I guess, to be able to see people using iPads, teaching people how to use them, teaching us how to use them correctly in this field, there's still a lot of knowledge that goes back and forth between people that have been at MPE for 20 years, or I had a great conversation with Mike Nawa, and I got so much knowledge from that guy. And yet I was able to teach him a ton of knowledge about where we're going at. The best blending of both those things helps us adapt during times like we had in 2020 this year. You've seen it with Eosso Brothers. I seen it with Wisco. I went and asked guys that have been in here for 20 or 30 years, what the heck do I do here? And at the same time, we had those guys asking, well, Marvin, what do I do on Facebook? I cannot get in front of people now. How do I get in front of people when they're on their phones checking COVID dates? We're able to help them out with Facebook. And it's just one of those things where you have to adapt. Not only do you guys have to adapt, we have to adapt. Small companies, big companies, everybody. And that proved it. And your classes helped prove that, Tom. So we appreciate it.
So one of the things I did was I hired a marketing person this year. Her name is Casey. And we have a drone. We have the DJI Mimo, where you can walk around and do the pictures. We have the drone that goes up, so we do before and after of all the projects. You see my gray mustache and beard. Right? I have to depend on these younger fellas and young ladies and gentlemen to help me, because, I know how to get around technology pretty good, but the younger team that I have, they do it effortlessly.
Yes.
So I always did my drone. I always kept the drone in my pickup. When I go out, I shoot a picture before I started. When I was done, I try to do before and after. Mm-hmm. So one of my project managers, Mike Blaney, came in, and I couldn't get out, and I needed a drone. So I showed him in our yard, how to use it. He took that drone out to a job, first time, put it up in the air, and put music to it, and made the most amazing video. And I said, Mike, you are now the drone guy.
He was too good. Yeah, he was too good for his own good. He was too good for his own good. No,
and then, so you have to look. You have to put your company out on that social media as you're the best. You have integrity. You look good at it, and really just let people understand who you are, and show your flair out through the social media. It's strong.
Yeah, and I mean, when you couple everything, the days of being a one-trick pony, it's hard to do that anymore. Unless you're in an area where you're the only gig in town, it's very easy for a young kid that's ambitious to get in front of a lot of faces where you used to be the only one to get there. So to be well-versed, but yet still have those things you're talking about, loyalty, integrity, communication, all these things that are essential if you're going to be a business owner of any kind of size. To be able to put that in front of people with technology without having to be introduced in the physical is a big thing nowadays. And I think with MPE, that's the big thing I'm going to miss. I'm going to miss these stories of guys that said, yeah, we had a single ton or a single axle 2-ton truck, and we had to pull it through a drag paver, and then now we're over here buying 2 Weilers because the other ones are too dirty, or whatever. It's mind-boggling, but yet they still see us younger companies that might be 2 or 3 people. There was 4 of us at the end of the season at my company, and we're doing things on social media and these drone shots and these drone footages that is just unbelievable. And I think that there's a lot to be gained either way. That's why we're both heartbroken about MPE, of course, but I still see Russ and his team trying to put something together. I believe more than likely some of us are still probably going to try to get together in some way, shape, or form throughout this fall. But that big kickoff is going to be missed for sure, and I'm definitely going to miss seeing you, my friend. So, one thing I do want to ask you about is if somebody was, let's say they were my company and they wanted to get into paving. What would be your word of advice? If you could go back, I'll do you better. I'll do a better scenario, Tom. So let's say you go back to where you're fresh out of the Army, and you want to start your business. What would be the word of advice you would give yourself if you had one moment to tell yourself something? What would that be?
Well, rolling back when we started, it was back in 1992. They didn't even have a cell phone back then. So,
that's crazy to think that you just said that, and yet you're teaching us about how to use all these iPads out on the field.
So back in the day, when I first started the company, I looked at presentation. Presentation, very important. Wowing your customer, and giving a proposal that when it's all spelled out, it's very clear, maps. The customer has to know what you're doing. Sure. Sometimes it works against you. I've seen my proposals in other paver guys' hands saying, I make a proposal really nice. Another contractor will take that proposal and work off. They use them as blueprints. But I believe in presentation, and then also, just making sure that when you leave that customer, you wow them. You have to wow that customer, because if you don't, somebody's going to take your spot. So, I want that customer for life. When I meet them and I shake their hand and we pave that parking lot, it don't end there. It keeps rolling. I say it's a ball. When I pave it, I want to maintain it. So 28 years in, I'm going on my second time paving communities.
Yeah.
That's how crazy it is. I mean, and they call you happy. Our asphalt lasted 20 years. You said it was going to last 15 to 20, and it lasted to 20 because I maintained it all along. Mm-hmm. It could have went a few more years, and I tell and what's nice about it is I already have the measurements. I already have how I did it.
That's
so
true.
Repeat business wins.
Yeah.
So going back, it was a struggle. Like anybody starting a business out new, I went home many Fridays without paychecks in my pockets. But and I paid my men before I paid myself.
Sure.
So we, just making sure it's easy to get in over your head with equipment. You walk that floor and all that shiny iron, believe me, I have a lot of equipment and I love equipment. But you got to be careful you don't extend yourself, because this year, if you're extended, you're hurt.
Yeah.
So we paid a lot of equipment off, but we, update and bought new stuff. We bought a brand new mill machine. Now we're in a pandemic. I spent $800,000 on a mill machine.
Yep.
I just bought the W50 working. That was another 100. We tooled up. I bought new trucks. I just bought a new seal coat truck. Mm-hmm. Hey, I'm going forward. I'm laying down. So just be careful overextending yourself. My first truck, I paid $2,500 for it, and I had it for 6 years. I kept that $2,500 truck. I babied it, and it made it all that time.
Yeah.
So, now I never drove a truck with air conditioning, dump trucks. These guys now are automatics. They're like cars inside. So just don't overextend yourself. Make sure, I rented a lot in the beginning. You can rent, and just, you're going to get beat. You're going to get punched in the face. You got to be able to get up. Every day you get punched in the face. Me and my brothers talk about it every day. Listen, no matter what happens, if I have to scale back and we go down to 2 crews, I'll sell equipment. we're not going to go down.
Yeah.
You know, it's you know, we're going to figure, we're in any circumstance, in any, you have to sit down, you have to do an evaluation, you have to figure out how to get through it. This year tested everybody. It aged us all a little bit. So, you know, and it's not over. This COVID is getting worse. You know, in New Jersey's ramping up. They're getting ready. They're talking about shutting down again. So, you know, we're fortunate that we're coming into our off season, but now 2021 could, you know, 2021 could be another challenge.
Yeah, you never know. And I mean, do you think about, you know, that initial shock and fear of something that we hadn't seen while we were in business? We made it through that part. All right. So I know we can make it. I know we can do it. And I think, you know, you're kind of, your advice of, hey man, we're not going down. You can't go down. You have to scale back or do whatever. It ultimately leads to how bad do you want it. And, you know, I wouldn't mind if I didn't make any money this year, that would have been fine as long as my guys made money and we survived. I know when in our conversation previously, I said, hey, this might not be a growth year, but if you survive, there's going to be a lot of people that do not probably. Right. So that should be our main goal, is surviving and getting through. And, you know, that kind of advice that you have to your younger self, which is pretty much to us at you know, at our age and some of these guys that are starting out, is sage advice, Tom. So, you know, at some point, we're going to go back and look at these podcasts and some of this stuff in history, and some of this stuff's going to keep ringing true and it lives forever. So, you know, this resource is going to be there for everybody. We got a few more minutes. So, anything else this season? I wish we were there just hanging out, shooting the breeze.
We're going to get together.
I'm going to miss that, man, because we had some good conversations, and I just miss knowing that everybody is around me and we all have the same positive mindset at that point. But it keeps us optimistic, and I have a feeling that when we do all get together again, it's going to be even sweeter than it.
I mean, last year, you know, that show was, you know, that NPE was, a lot of people were sort of, oh, geez, it's changing, it's this. You know, you walked around that floor, videoed, you were talking to people, you had a hype going. You know, you did really well with that.
So thank you very much. I'm super excited and very interested in our industry and in our field, and I believe that we should be.
One of the things that, you know, just rolling back about, you know, making sure your job cost, making sure you know your costs when you're doing these estimates. You know, you see numbers go by and you say, it's impossible that they could do it for that number. And, you know, you have to walk away from jobs sometimes because we don't need the practice. You know, we may be working leaner because you're just trying to get jobs this year, but making sure that you're making money. It's not about how much you make, it's how much you take back.
Yeah, you got to pick those battles. You know,
if it's $100 and it cost you $100, you made nothing. Why go out and bother? So you need to know your costs. You have to evaluate your cost. Use this winter to evaluate what things cost you, so you know when you're given a price, it's the right number, because the industry gets ruined by when you don't know your costs.
Yeah.
So, you know, and just you know, keep this industry. It's getting better every year.
I believe that. Yeah, I totally believe that.
There's winners all through this, and I'll tell you what, I have friends all through New Jersey, competitors that we shake hands at. You know, listen, if we lose one, we lose one. If, you know, there's plenty of work out there.
Yeah.
Just don't ruin the industry. Make sure that you don't cut corners. If you're going to say you're saying you're doing a 2-inch parking lot, do 2 inches.
Yeah.
If you're installing 2 coats of sealer, put 2 coats down. Never cut a corner, because it ruins. The infrared got ruined because guys were using compactors to compact. They weren't using rollers. And then 2 months later, the infrareds were failing.
Yep.
And all it takes is one time, and then infrared was going bad around us. I had to bring it back.
Yep.
So it's, you know, so when you do something, you know, YouTube, I believe in YouTube. I learn more off YouTube every day than you can imagine. If I want to learn something, I go to YouTube. Yeah. So, you know, and I also go to my friends. Like I said, when we hit that snag, we had that meeting with Brian, top contractor. I talked to Finley and their guys, and, you know, Finley's got 250 employees. We were nervous. I mean, I have 50. I thought I had problems. He had a lot more. He got through. I talked to all of them recently, and we all salvaged the year. Yep. You know, so when the world feels like it's on top of you, you know, just keep pushing.
Yeah.
Smile through it, and and bring that positivity. If you walk around negative, you watch the news, don't watch the news. If you walk around negative, you will not get a job. People
Absolutely.
buy off of vibes. You have to be sunshine. When you walk in a room, spread sunshine.
Yep. Well, after we had our conversation about COVID, I don't think I mentioned it again to customers or my team or anybody. I walked around like it did not exist, and we were just going to kick ass at it. And then whatever these protocols were that we were doing, they were just standard protocols. I didn't say the word or anything ever again. I just wanted to work and be positive, and we did. The one thing that I didn't want, that I believe has helped build us as a company, is knowing our value for our work. And there was a long time ago when I would be out on these hot damn days, brooming driveways by hand with sealer, thinking, what in the hell am I doing this for? Because it's not the money, because I didn't get a good price. But once we started realizing that we had value and we were able to promote our value, I believe we should charge for our value. And like you're saying, stop bidding against price. Bid the value of our work. It's a valuable field. We spend a lot of money on equipment, overhead, guys, teams, building. Bid your value and do work for your value rather than trying to undercut. You'll be a lot happier and you'll gain a lot more ground a lot quicker. I can tell you that.
Well, many years you hit the end of the year and you're looking, saying there was always something that either made your year better or worse. And a few years ago we got hit by a big general contractor and $500,000. We didn't get paid $500,000. That was another, felt like COVID.
Yep.
Try to get out of $500,000 and move on to the next year. It took me 2 years to get out of that.
Yeah.
So we hit this year. I sat down with my financial controller and he said, Tom, I don't know what we did, but we stayed lean all year. We tightened up. We bought a couple pieces, but we won. So now let's get through the winter, because every contractor, the winters is like a heavy bag on your back.
Oh yeah.
Some people don't make it through winter. So just make sure you keep learning through the winter. Talk to your guys at MPE. You may not be chest bumping with them right now, but still do Zoom meetings with them. Talk about Zoom. Talk about what you're doing and help each other through it. And then, like I said, Russ is devising a plan. It's going to work. He's figuring something out. We're going to all get together.
He's a smart dude. He's intuitive.
Yeah. Laura, Kasky and Russ and the team, the advisory board, we had some, I can't say much, but they have some ideas, and
I think a lot of it's just keeping the buzz going. And that was our big thing. When I talked to Russ at the end of MPE, I came up with the idea for the podcast, and I said, you know what, in the summer and in the spring and in the fall, I said, all we need to do is just keep some kind of buzz going, keep interest by us, the guys that really love MPE and the guys that are interested in going. And I believe we'll keep doing that. And Russ is a smart guy, and he taps into his resources like we do too. I think we're in a good direction. I think everything's going in a good direction, and people showing their work and showing what we do and the integrity that is within some of us as contractors has really helped the industry climb out of that image that it had. And we've done it in a relatively short amount of time, and I'm very happy for that.
I mean, Instagram and Facebook. I mean, I'm watching ADC, some amazing videos he's kicking out all the time. The guys out in Portland.
K&L.
Yep, K&L, amazing. Brian's pushing a lot of stuff. You got the guys American Asphalt over in Connecticut.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah,
I love that stuff. Man, that's my flavor. I love their stuff.
I have my shirt and listen, anybody doing good, I'm going to buy. I have my hats and my shirts.
I think when you point on that, Tom, about all of us knowing each other and doing everything and talking to each other and these companies, and we're not going to go down, like you said, we're not going to lay down. And if we do, I want to be one of the last ones standing when we do. And, you know, and I think that's the main goal. And I think that all of our friends and everybody that we talk to, and anybody can jump into this industry, and anybody can jump into MPE and get to know people and use resources. You realize really quick who will talk to you and who won't talk to you. But one thing that has benefited, and I had a feeling it would early on, is us getting to know each other and helping each other. It's not that people don't want to do good work. Sometimes they just don't know how. And
So,
you just
so
learn.
friendships, I mean, Black Diamond in California and Jim Bebo and ACI,
Yeah.
and Finley and these guys, we meet in Florida every January. Well, we got to see if we're going to do it this year. I don't think we are, but we do classes ourselves, and we meet with each other and help each other all the way through it. I mean, you get when you're sitting at a table with a bunch of guys that do the same thing, and there's no competition in the room,
Yep.
and you're opening up your books and sharing financials and saying what our ratios are and what it should be and how to get better,
Mhm.
how to tighten up. You know,
That's
there's no better classes. And we still went to MPE, but we still meet. I mean, I've been meeting with Black Diamond for 15 years and ACI.
magic.
So it's this is where, you know, if you're not doing that, you're losing.
No.
You're not talking to these guys, you're losing.
Yeah, and I think you get us having the kind of invitive feel into the industry is a new thing, but also it's very beneficial for the way that our industry is being viewed, and also it helps people realize that there's a lot of value. So if something is more valuable, guess what? It costs more. So for us, at Wiscote, I was nervous thinking, well, man, we're going to have to start underbidding what we normally would have, all these things to make adjustments. And that wasn't the case. The case was we developed a game plan of how we should tact it. And luckily, when we did, it worked out perfectly the first time. But if not, we would have all been in a call again, figuring out how we're going to adjust and do it again. And to be able to have that resource, whether you have to pay for it or not, which if you're a nice guy, chances are you're not going to have to pay for it. But, just to be able to have that safety net, like you have with all your crew and, the guys at A&A. I talked to Todd Eichholz a little bit, beginning at the end of the year. And some of these guys, Charlie Baker up at CMB, and then the guys at Marathon, and just anywhere all over, all these people that we know. It's a valuable resource. That's why I'm glad we're friends, because when I get to that point where I'm going to need some help, I know I'm going to be able to call you, and you'll be able to help us through there. If I get by that way, I'm going to have to see you. People are begging me to make an East Coast run, so I need to do it. And if I do, I'm definitely going to call you. Tom, thank you so much for being on the podcast, man. I can't thank you enough to know that we've collaborated on some small scale here. About time, man. I think we need to do it
for a year, right?
Yeah, for a year, and most definitely, I'll get a care package out to you, and we'll get some stuff to you. I'm super excited for.
We'll get you out one of these, right?
Oh, I'm gonna wear it. I wear hats, so I'll definitely get one.
Hat out.
All right, man. Thanks a lot. Brother. I really appreciate it. For myself, for the guys at Eosso Brothers, for Tom, we want you to seal it, stripe it, pave it, and kill it. Peace.